So now we're there. They've got them conceptually closed on the sale. So at this point, I say, now give me a couple minutes. I'm going to run some rates. I kind of know what to expect in the back of my mind, and you should too after doing this long enough. And let me kind of look at and compare some options. Maybe you're not 100% sure health-wise where they're going to fit. So you're going to pull some rates out, look at some companies, and kind of compare what's out there. I like physically doing this anyway, even if I have a good idea what mine I'm going to use, because it shows visually that I'm not just grabbing something and handing it to them. I'm working, in a sense, right, to look at the different options, compare, think. I've got visually, you can see my face, I'm studying this. I'm working hard for the customer. So hopefully that shows, and hopefully that creates some kind of bond. I don't think it's super necessary, but I always did that just kind of as a little ploy, I guess, to get them interested and engaged that I'm doing my job. And to an extent that was true, especially in the beginning as I'm comparing rates and coverage. So once I find the plan, here's how I go into presenting it. So I showed them the brochure and I say, Mrs. Jones, this is ABC Life Insurance Company. I explain a little bit about the company, and then remind them what it does, and I explain why I'm selecting this company. It's very important to understand the reason why we're getting ABC Company instead of XYZ Company. So it sounds something like this. I say, the reason I'm selecting ABC Company is because, first of all, well, let me step back. So this is ABC Life Insurance Company. They're out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. They've been in business since 1933. They're an A-ranked AM Best company. And the reason I'm selecting this company over all the other companies I have is because, bottom line, despite your COPD, your insulin that you have, your cancer a year and a half ago, you have atrial fibrillation, and you use a wheelchair constantly. Oh, and you're bipolar and schizophrenic. Despite all that, I can still get you first day full coverage. Wouldn't that be wonderful if we had a carrier like that? So I explain to them, and I remind them, hey, look, you got all these issues. And this carrier, out of all the other options, is the best overall to get you the best quality and the best pricing combined together. So I remind them why. Very important. You never want to skip over that reason. You always want to explain why we're doing what we're doing. Again, we're eliciting and making sure we're getting buy-in at all steps of the phase. And so I kind of know at this point where the rates are. I've even written them down on a page. We know that, let's say they can afford $60 to $80 a month. I write the 60, 70, and 80 down. Or I'll give you some other options here in a minute. But at this point, I got an idea. Get the prices down. Next step to this part is to review the health questions word for word on the application. So what I mean by that is that I say, okay, well, before I write this up, I want to make sure we can actually qualify. I'm going to just double check, make sure everything's fine. I'm going to read you the questions on the application. Do not skip over this, okay? A lot of sales are lost because people will call up, do a phone interview, and they get declined. And the person's pissed off because you've already sold hard how great this company is, but you forgot that the person takes nitroglycerin and can't be placed with X company. So you don't want to skip over that. You want to go through each question and just ask them for a yes or no and anything like that, and just to make sure that they're on board health-wise to minimize the problems of rate ups or declines on the phone. So make sure you go through that. And then so everything looks good, I'll say, look, everything looks fine, perfect, just like I thought. So let me show you exactly what we can price out and what you can show you. So I'm using here a sample of a clean sheet of paper. What you want to do is write at the top, you want to write the face amount, and I'm doing this live on the spot. The face amount for 3 different options. Kind of think good, better, best, right? You don't want to have 5, 6, 7, 8 options. Too many options is always a bad thing. It leads to people being more confused. And when people are confused, they don't make decisions. They just wait. So make it simple. 2 or 3 is fine. And then all you need to do is write the face amount and then write the premium amount. So I'm going to write down the premium. There's a few more things here before I actually show you what I've done here in a crappy handwriting. So here's how the presentation goes. So I'll say, all right, Mrs. Jones, so everything looks good. Looks like you're going to qualify for you. Let me show you the pricings that I have for you. So let me show you here how this would look up here. Hopefully you guys can see this. I'm going to try to get it focused. So just bear with me. Oh, perfect. Yeah, you guys can see that. Great. So what I've done here is I've got 10, 12 and a half, 15, and then a made-up premium. There's no rhyme or reason in any of this. It's just something I've made up. I like to add the dot and the double zeros to make it look bigger. I know that sounds corny, but I heard somebody say that once. I thought, yeah, hey, look, it takes up more real estate on paper. It looks more effective. And then I write the premiums down. So what I say at that point is this. I say, look, let me show you some prices, Mrs. Jones. It looks like everything looks good. You're going to qualify. Let me show you some prices that, based on what you told me, you can qualify for. So let me show you. Here's the paper. So, and I get beside him and say, based on what you told me, you want to get a burial. You want to be buried. You want to leave a little extra money behind. You want to leave a lot, but you want to leave something behind. I've written down a $10,000, a $12,500, and a $15,000. You'll find below that the premium range fits the range you told me you were comfortable with. And here's the thing. Mrs. Jones, my recommendation is to pick the plan that best fits your budget. Okay? Get the one. All of these are going to do the job. Okay? But my recommendation is to pick the plan that's going to be the easiest to afford and is going to accomplish the goal that you want. So out of these three options, Mrs. Jones, which one works best for you? And then shut up. So at this point, what you've done now is you've presented the options, you've reminded them what this is going to do and why you're selecting these options. It's very important that you actually take the time to say, look, I'm showing you these options because you told me you want to be buried, and you wanted a little left over, and we both agreed 10,000 is a good number to start with. So I took a 10, 12 and a half, and 15, and I showed you some prices which ended up being in the same range that you were comfortable with. So I'm showing this stuff, and I always think about this anyway. My whole presentation is, I'm the consultant, I guess you could say, and you're telling me what you want, and I'm showing you what you want. And I'm going to recommend the one that fits your budget best. So this is important. When I get to the close, you want to, again, you're taking the role of a professional advisor. You want to make recommendations, okay? And when I look at one of these, because I've been in this business long enough, I am most sensitive to making sure that a client gets something they can afford. I know I can go back and see these people a year, 2 years, 3 years down the line and sell them some more insurance, okay? So I don't need to necessarily sell them it all up front, especially if they don't have a policy and they're getting used to paying a new premium. I don't want to overload it and sell too hard and be too effective, because then they'll take out a big bite, wake up the next morning and say, hell, I can't afford that. I got to pay for my beer and liquor. You know what I mean? That's the stuff that goes through these people's minds. So I will recommend professionally to pick the one that's going to do the job that they want to accomplish, because people keep insurance that meets the needs of what it is they want. Not everybody goes out there and buys a profound amount of insurance and just because they want it. They do it because they need it and they want to protect their family and have peace of mind. So I always make my recommendation based around budget and need. If they want if in our conversation the area is pricing for burials, they say they've seen 10,000, I'll agree with them. I'll say that's why I showed you 10,000. My recommendation is at least to pick the 10,000. If you can afford the higher amounts, go for it. But hey, if you just get the 10 or any of these, you're in good hands. So please, my question to you is pick which one works best for you. And that's my close, is which one works best for you. So after I ask the question, and again, this is all I'm showing them. Now you could show it to them on the lead card. It's better with a crisp, clear piece of paper because it's not going to have distracting stuff on it. Straight to the point. They can look exactly what it is that you're doing. If you do that, once you offer the premium, be quiet. This is where you got to be quiet and not interrupt them. The old saying is, one who speaks first loses. So you got to make sure that you give them time to mull it over mentally or talk to their husband about it as you wait for them to come up with a decision. So I've been in situations where I've been quiet for minutes that felt like hours. If that's what it takes, shut up and wait that long. Just think about something else. And let them mull it over and get to the point where they make a decision.